How am I supposed to afford a premium sounding headphone in this economy? Oh. Okay. Headphone highlights. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and I recognize that I am very late jumping aboard this hype train, but here we are all the same with the FiiO FT-1. This little headphone has been getting a lot of buzz lately, and I'm about to give it just a little bit more. FT-1. Look at that. What a nice looking little headphone, right? Yeah, I'm quite fond of this thing. I mean, even the build itself is nice. Very nice. This is remarkably well made for a headphone that is often under $150. $150. This headphone is really breaking the mold for the budget close-back headphone market, man. Like, wow. That's really all I can really say about it is wow. But let's dive a little bit deep into why this is such a wow. So what this is, what the FT-1 here is obviously solid wood cups here. They are actual real wood. My version here, they are American beech wood, solid milled chunks of beech wood. There is a walnut variant as well. That's probably the one that you've maybe seen more often than this. I would feel pretty fortunate to get this color. This color is, for whatever reason, a little bit more difficult to find than the walnut, but man, I'm a huge sucker for this kind of caramel color scheme. So what the FT-1 is a fully closed back 60mm dynamic driver headphone. Let me take off the pad here. Maybe we could take a little look at what those drivers look like. There we go. 60mm driver. That's pretty impressive. You don't see too many of those. So I'm pretty into that. Very pretty too. Pretty little design right there. I like that. They are 32 ohms of impedance and 113 decibels of sensitivity. As you can see, obviously we have nice real hardwood finishes here on the cups. They are milled out solid pieces of wood. Very, very cool. We have some plastic bits around the rim of the cup here, a metal yoke system, and a metal height adjustment bracket right here. And this bracket is very, very smooth. Look at this. Ooh. It does actually have a ball bearing inside that does lock into certain positions, as you can probably see right there, those little notches. It does have, I believe, 12 different notches of position that it does kind of lock into. You can feel it kind of bump, bump, bump. It's very, very smooth though. Like almost so subtly you could barely feel it. If you're moving this, I mean, it's there, but it's just a really smooth linear adjustment there. Going into the headband, we have this nice protein leather. It feels amazing. It's got some good natural stitching right there, real stitching. And then the underside of the headband is this extremely soft, look at the camera, the focus there, extremely soft, oof, like suede under here. Oh, it feels so good. And you got these little cushions. There's really not a whole lot of padding here for comfort, but it's enough. And again, the suede itself is so soft. It's really no complaints from me. Good stuff. In terms of how the yoke works, you do have enough degree of tilt and a little bit of swivel, more than enough to really fit to whatever head shape you have to deal with. They accept standard 3.5mm dual entries here. And then the pads themselves, now you're going to look at this and notice something a little strange. My pads that I have here are a full protein leather pad, all throughout all sides of it, the outside, the face, the inside. It's all protein leather. Stock on these, you're not going to have these pads. You're going to end up with pads that are the protein leather, but the face is actually a very breathable cloth fabric. I'm not sure why my version has the solid. I picked these up at Can Jam SoCal this year, and it was their kind of demo unit they had there at the booth. So maybe these are kind of a pre-production thing. I don't really know, but if you were to buy an FT-1 brand new you wouldn't have these pads. You would have pads with that really nice breathable cloth on the face. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, I believe they're pretty much the same pads, just a different face and a little bit more breathability. On the inside of the pads, we do have R and left for left and right indicators, clearly marked. And yeah, it is, we got FiiO on the logo here, FiiO on the logo there. And man, they are just a very, very pretty and very well-made headphone for $150. I don't know if I know of another headphone. Actually, you know what? I do. There's one other that comes close. Now, this is purely coincidence in terms of the color matching here, but the Sivga Robbins, another somewhat $150-ish headphone, closed back, wood, and yeah, this is really the kind of the closest comparison I can think of in terms of the build quality. The Robin has a couple nice things about it, like the satin finish on the metal is a lot nicer than I think the kind of matte finishes on the FiiO, but I like the wood a lot more. It's not that kind of weird glossiness you have on the Sivga. I don't care much for that. I know that the dark wood version of the Sivga doesn't have that glossiness, but that just, the grain on this birch here is just so flippin' nice. Oh man. And then of course the big selling point with the Sivgas was these amazing pads, these super crazy soft pads. No, the pads on the FiiO are not as soft, but they're pretty freaking soft. I mean, oh god, actually that's pretty freaking close. Yeah, these pads are pretty awesome. Yeah, so that's just a fun little comparison right there. I didn't even think of until now, but yeah, we have another competitor for this, you know, wood peanut butter colored close-back world. And we'll talk more about how that actually performs, but build-wise, at least comparable with the Sivgas here. So you get very nice, high-quality build, but you also get a nice little accessories package, starting with not just one, but two included cables. And these cables are nice. First one here is just 3.5mm, but you also get included the 4.4 Pentagon version as well. The build on these is quite nice. They're pretty excellent. They are just kind of a fabric weave cable here, and they're great. They're not super long. They're a perfect length for my needs, and they look really nice. They're made really, really well. The split here just says subtly FiiO, just kind of it's a hard plastic, but it's high quality. The connectors are really nice. They have this very cool ergonomic shape to them, makes it really easy to attach them and unattach them. Clearly marked in bright white lettering, L and R. And then the end termination here, same thing. You're continuing with that kind of nice ergonomic shape. Feels really nice, and these connectors are metal. So while the splitter's plastic, the actual connectors are very nice, satiny feeling metal. Very good. They do have a little bit of a tendency to hold their shape and hold their form, but it's not terrible. It's not the worst, and I think that with enough effort, you can probably get that memory out. I haven't had the patience, I guess, to hang these on a door or something to see how well it would kind of get rid of that memory shape. But even so, the cable is nice enough and straight enough that it doesn't really bother me. I mean, look at that. It looks great. It looks nice. It's a good cable. Very good cable. And to have two of them included, that's a good deal. The other kind of nice premium little goodie you get in your accessories package is this very nice carrying case. It is a canvas case, very reminiscent of something you would get from Focal, but as you see, FiiO on there. It's got a little bit of that butt shape to it. It's actually a bit smaller than the Focal cases, if you can believe it, but it's really nice. It's very, very robust, very sturdy. It's not, I mean, oh man, it's gonna hold its shape very, very well. And the zipper here is very smooth and satisfying to open up into just a simple shell case. Throw your headphones in there. Wow. Get in there, you. Boom. Great. Yeah. Awesome case. A very nice case. Very nice cables. Good stuff. Oh, one more thing, you also get just a simple little 1/4" adapter. In terms of comfort, well, they're pretty freaking phenomenal. First of all, the passive isolation here, the passive sound isolation is really quite excellent. These pads, I don't know if it's the pads or the cups or whatever, but the sound isolation is really, really solid. My voice sounds very muffled. Fans are basically, I can't even hear them. So right out, you get just such a really good seal. And the comfort here is also just wonderful. They're very, very light. I believe they're like 340 grams. And man, you don't feel it really at all. Having them on my head here, obviously I'm wearing the hat, but this head strap is so soft and so light. I barely feel it, and it does a great job of just kind of fitting to the shape of the top of your head without having any kind of hot spots. And the cups weigh kind of like nothing. There's just nothing substantial about them, even with that wood. They just feel great. They feel super, super light. And the clamp force is extremely manageable, super easy clamp force. It's enough that they're not gonna go flying off your head. And it's also enough to ensure you're getting a nice, good, tight seal there for your isolation. But man, this is such a comfortable place to be. I'm having a great time just sitting here. I know that the stock, like I said, the stock pads on these are supposed to be very breathable with that kind of fabric facing, so maybe the stock pads resolve this, but with the full leather pads I have here, they do get a little bit on the warm side, a little bit more than other kind of leather or pleather full-size ear pads like this do for me. But again, if you're not going to have that with the stock pads, you're not going to have this full leather, and they really, at least in all their marketing, FiiO really is going out of their way to identify those pads with the breathable fabric to be extremely breathable and very cooling ear pads. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but for me, pads are a little bit warm. Other than that though, absolutely fantastic fit. Absolutely, like insanely, really, genuinely, amazingly comfortable headphones. In terms of our comfort cloud scale system, I'm gonna give these a solid 8. They're not quite enough to get onto the Cloud 9 spectrum, but they're really, really good. They're excellent. Excellent feel and fit. Just maybe a little bit, just a little too warm for me after prolonged listening sessions. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of all this and talk sound performance, because it is the sound performance, I think, as to why these are getting so much buzz. Because at $150, the FT1s way outperform outside of their price range. Genuinely, they are remarkably impressive for their price. First and foremost, the bass extension is phenomenal, genuinely great. It hits hard, it hits low, and just has absolutely wonderful sub bass representation. I think it's enough sub bass to get most kind of real bass heads the run for their money, but it's also not a, you know, really disgusting amount of it that's really growly and muddy and going everywhere you don't want it to go. It's the bass representation here in general, mid bass included, is just really, really lovely, really, really fun. It's got a level of warmth to it, which I think helps kind of smooth things out, but it's not so warm that it feels like it's veiling and engulfing your mid-range. The mid bass is punchy and visceral and just a real joy, but it is very well managed and very respectful of the mid-range. It just stays, for the most part, where it needs to be. It doesn't really bleed or bloom that much. And man, what you get out of it, the kind of energy and impact you get in your bass presence here, more than makes up for any kind of potential loss of fidelity. It's just an absolutely insanely fun amount of bass. The bass is also quite speedy and responsive, which makes it almost reminiscent of like a planar kind of bass performance. It's really excellent. Listening to Alien Manifestation from the Nier soundtrack, man, that was just some of the crunchiest and most vicious amount of bass I've heard from a closed back headphone like this in a long time, in quite a while, especially at this price range. Super insanely fun. Going up into the mid-range, more that smoothness. It's relaxed, it's smooth, it's easy, and it's again, got some kind of nice warmth to it. It's not so warm that it feels kind of bloated or too colored. It's just a nice, very natural sounding mid-range that I would say actually is very musical. And the vocal range follows suit. It's, again, a little bit of warmth in there, a little bit of smoothness, but certainly not so much to take away from any kind of clarity in the vocals. They're very present. They're not super in your face forward, but they're just very much in front of you and just very projecting and very present. And they sound very, very natural, very, very clean and clear, just also smooth. Very smooth. It almost feels like sitting in a dimly lit lounge while they're singing to you and just having the scent of old stained wood wafting in the air. Really, it's really nice. Going up into the high mids, you get plenty of snap and kick, and it's got really good speed to it. I would say it's maybe not quite as crisp as I might like my high mids to usually be. Again, just because of kind of the overall smooth sounding nature of the frequency response, but it's more than enough to satisfy my needs for kind of any sort of nuance or detail in that high mid range. I'm getting it, it's there. It just maybe doesn't feel as sharp and spiky as I might want it to normally be. And then the treble range kind of follows suit there as well. Very relaxed, very smoothed out. I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a roll-off in the treble because they're actually capable of pretty good treble extension. But the way that they handle treble, especially at the tip-top end, it's just it's so easy to listen to. It never gets sharp, it never gets sibilant. It's just this really smoothed out, again, relaxed sort of treble range. But you're still getting your high notes and you're still getting good kind of resolution and refinement up there. It's just chilled. It's almost like taking a canvas and smacking a bunch of paint on it, like some acrylic paint, and then taking your paint knife and just smoothing it out. It's all there, right? The paint's all there, but now instead of it being just kind of a spiky mess, it's just buttery. It's lovely. Going into your technicalities, the soundstage is pretty excellent, especially for a closed back. The soundstage, it's not the hugest. It's not like a Argon amount of soundstage, but it's easily about this distance from you. You get this great sense of space, this great sense of kind of air and separation. It is genuinely much wider than most closed backs, especially again in this price range. It's just outrageous, the quality of the soundstage on this thing. And I think that's something that might be kind of aiding the soundstage performance, to aid how the hugeness sounds in this headphone, is that bass performance, the bass presence and the bass extension, and how the bass is presented to you and how it impacts you. It just makes for a huge sounding listening experience. These headphones sound just huge, and it's extremely immersive and extremely satisfying. The image separation is very good. It provides this very precise sense of where things are all around you. It's very omnidirectional, and you just get this real clean and clear sense of layering in your music. And the imaging just allows the headphone to identify kind of really fine nuances that you would never expect a headphone in this price range to be able to resolve. Just really crazy impressive. Even for a somewhat warmer headphone like this, the imaging allows it to identify really tight notes and refined details in ways I haven't heard in this price range in a closed back hardly ever. The speed and responsiveness, especially in the low-end frequencies, just make this for an extremely engaging and very dynamic sounding headphone. They're just an absolute blast. And while they obviously really excel with music, gaming and movie listening with these is just such a joy. Oh my goodness, they're so cinematic and so theatrical. And again, the price to performance is just outrageous. I was playing some Red Dead Redemption 2 this week with the FT1s, and man, I don't know if I haven't really appreciated the sound design of Red Dead 2 in a long time, but these really reminded me just how amazing the sound design of the game is. Oh my God. This is not the most hyper detailed, hyper focused headphone out there. This is not the kind of headphone that you're going to sit down and hard focus on your music for really clinical listening. What this is a headphone to just sit and enjoy your music with. It's a headphone that is fun and dynamic and just provides a really genuinely musical listening experience that I very rarely, if ever, see in this price range. It's a headphone that I want to crank the volume up and just lose myself in. And I haven't had that experience in a headphone for a while. At less than $150, these are often on sale for around 130 bucks. And that is just an absolutely remarkable deal. A remarkable value of a headphone. It's built incredibly well and it sounds so beyond its price range, beyond my expectations for sure. I don't want to say I had low expectations for it, but I wasn't prepared for what it was ready to deliver. I'm still surprised and shocked by it. And this is now one of my favorite closed back headphones to just kind of like throw on and go freaking play some games or something, or chill out to some really relaxed jazz on my tube amplifiers. Oh man, it's such a buttery smooth, enjoyable listening experience. They're just a remarkable value, truly remarkable, and genuinely a excellent premium sounding headphone for less than $150. And again, if you're not really wild about the light wood accents here, light wood kind of color scheme, they do come in a dark wood walnut variant as well. That is genuinely still very beautiful, but I really wanted the peanut butter ones. I got a thing for that, man. Man, those coyotes are going nuts out there. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Oh, I completely forgot to show off this little guy. Look at this. He's adorable. FiiO. I love him. I love this little dude.